Well, festival season is officially among us. French Quarter Fest just passed, and Jazz Fest is just around the corner, but in between both is a new one you may not have heard of yet. For the Love of the Culture Fest is in its very first year, and it promises to bring all that good New Orleans music to the locals, so make sure you take a look.
I'm the second chief of the Golden Eagles. I've been massing for the Golden Eagles since 1987, actually. Yeah, third generation.
What's that been like, being able to mask?
Oh man, you know, it has its ups and its downs. It's cool. Obviously, it's cool to everybody else that looks at it. But like anything else that's great, it comes with a lot of responsibility. It comes with a lot of pressure, a lot of times where you just, oh man, I just can't, I don't know, you know. But it's worth it in the end. It's definitely worth it in the end.
You don't get a rich culture like Joseph Boudreaux Jr.'s without putting in the work. He's what the people in New Orleans would call a culture bearer. He takes a year to make his masking suit. He travels with his band to bring the sound of New Orleans all over the country, and sometimes out of it.
I mean, you get a chance to see a culture that's been thriving and has been going on for far longer before you even touched it. You know, we're well over 150 years now. And then when you come along, you kind of look and see, okay, how can I leave my imprint on it? Because when we're in a culture, we're always taught to carry on. That's one of the first lessons you learn, is to carry the culture on. Make it better, you know, preserve it for the youngsters that's coming up underneath you.
Yeah, so for you, it's a legacy thing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But a vital part of keeping that legacy going is sustainability. Every person's career needs it to thrive, to balance. Joseph says that culture bearers need it too, especially in the form of compensation, which historically, these celebrated individuals don't always get.
It comes along with a cost. Anything, and always kind of breaks this down to women, like anything that's worth having and looks pretty, it comes at a cost, right?
Oh.
So
in 2020, the Music and Culture Coalition of New Orleans found that there's a wage discrepancy among the city's culture bearers. Though it's hard to pinpoint exactly how many there are and what they do professionally, it's agreed that a lot work in hospitality, bringing in lower incomes.
You know, it costs to be pretty. It costs to be able to come out on the street and represent the city. And Feed the Second Line is actually helping kind of take a little bit of that edge off with some of the culture bearers, you know, by helping them with jobs, helping them with funding and things of that nature. So every little push that Feed the Second Line can do, it's, you know, a weight off of the culture's back. You know, hopefully Feed the Second Line and other companies and nonprofits can grow.
Feed the Second Line is an organization that started to help people like Joseph back in 2020. The goal is to keep the city afloat by supporting those that make it special. The latest method being a music festival. For the Love of the Culture Fest takes local acts and makes them accessible to the community they love. Plus, they're compensated for their work. It's an effort Tinice Williams, the org's executive director, says is long overdue.
But I mean, Louisiana already has like several different culture fests in a way. So what makes this one so different from the other ones?
This is a festival that's put on by the culture, for the culture, to actually display it to the community. And when you think about most festivals that are given, you know, throughout the city, they're really expensive. The best thing about it is all proceeds that are made actually goes back into the culture, meaning it goes back into the programs that we have at Feed the Second Line for our culture bearers.
And what are those programs? How are those supporting the community and keeping that culture alive in New Orleans?
So when you think about, you know, the things that the dedication and the time, what the culture bearers do to display, you know, this tradition to the community, it's really expensive. And so we want to put them in a position to where they're able to take those proceeds and money that they make and put that back into whether they're doing their, you know, making their baby doll dress, or whether they're creating their Indian suit, or even if they're just simply paying for their permits to actually be able to parade if they're in a social aid and pleasure club. So being able to create a job opportunity and a safety net for the culture bearers so they can take that and put it back into themselves so they can do what they love to do and show out for the community.
All proceeds go back into Feed the Second Line to fund other projects Tinice mentioned. For the Love of the Culture Fest is in its first year, but the goal is to make it a tradition.